Hello everyone, this is Don. We are Kingdom 362 and Kingdom 410 for a new launch here. We're not going to be talking about a new item, we're going to be talking about a new calculator. Now, if you had the old Excel spreadsheet, which was the way we used to do things out there, let me visually, if you had this, everybody loved it because it was so comprehensive. You had all these little, I should say everybody loved it. Everybody that could look at it loved it. Uh, Meaning that because it was a Microsoft Excel product and you had to use Excel in order to work these formulas up here, where it's the product of B2 times 42, and then there was some subfield to subfields math going on in there. And we had down here for those who scrolled down and looked, I had a little cheat sheet for doing your Musketeer fort. Now, why was that important, you may ask? It really, let's bring in the loot on the Musketeer fort. Now, I'm gonna do a little how-to on the Musketeer fort while we do it. Okay, so first of all, you need to have it's best to set your defense right after you do a KVK. See where I've got my economy and my balance because I'm now back to farming. I'm done. I've respec back. Because they are absolutely the stingiest people ever on the dual talent tree, to where you have to have insane amount of EIP in order not to spend that 1,000 respec. For people that are spending $500-600 a month, they disrespect you for not being able to have the convenience to save 1,000 gold and waste all your time. There's been a lot of disrespect from this game here recently, but we're going to show you how to get this daily loot. Okay, so right now we're getting war documents out of this, so it's a good drop. We're also getting recruitment banners, also a good drop, and we're getting gemstone essence. That's a lot. That's a gem scale up every 10 days. That's a war document every 10 days. And that's a free guard every 7 days, and it'll get better and better as we go up in there. So you've got to, on the attack side, let's go with the guards, and we're going to put my guards on, and we're definitely doing this for the March cap. All right, we got to have the March cap. What mode your airship's in will matter. And you just saw I have to, that's another silly thing. This is a virtual experience. The forcing of us to, well, I'll tell you, one of the problems that I have with this is I have an airship pack on. So I have 4 airships in my frickin', that's a bug. All right. We'll ignore that bug for now. So we go over to the loot side. This is our attack. Okay, so because I respect all those things, it resets these numbers all the time, and you go, oh, where did I have that at? All right. Now, war talents have changed the name of the game just a little bit. So let's go look at the RogersRaiders.com. Except no substitutes. All right. We put the calculators out in the open. If you're on a phone, this will look like a black bar. All right. So, but there's a little 3 lines and a pull-down menu, and then there's a pull-down menu inside of a pull-down menu on your phone. It is what it is. That's just the way the mobile device HTML works. So, it's all designed to save you bandwidth. So Musketeer Fort Calculator. Sorry about that. want to do is beg this game to stop having other people have interfering control over my gameplay with these shouts. Please. 205, 200 is our number that we're looking for. Two calculators. Musketeer Fort. 205, 200. Now, I have made this thing so it does remember your numbers. So, generally, if you get off the page or scroll back, and it changed instantly. So, here's the numbers I'm going to work from, and luckily for me, I've got dual screen, so I can pop off my deal here. And I can look at my numbers. They go in order. 57, 456. 61, 560. And 86, 184. And then there might be a remainder, but there's not. All right. And so, we'll speed through that. Victory. Guys, what you want to learn from the Musketeer, while it's good loot that you earn every day, learn to read these reports. Okay, you've balanced these things out. All right, so if all you come away from this is, hey, he's got bigger stats than that other C30. Well, yeah, but these numbers are not as important as these numbers. This is where my stats are. He's a C30, which means that I can tell by looking at this stat report, he has not bannered up anything. And also see that 124? That means that I am missing this. And they last a week. And since these numbers are more important, it's for every point of damage is like 10 points on the attack, and the damage is on every troop. It's not on a percentage of hit. Damage is really your most important stat. So I looked at my report. It didn't cost me anything to be in there, and I said, okay, I forgot to put my accolades on so that I can go use and use. All right. I just couldn't afford the fourth one. All right. I'll grab it a little bit later this afternoon. So we're going to go back to the fort. Now, it will, of course, it'll remember, but, like I said, when you change around playing with your specs, it always screws this thing up. So let's go out to the C31 now. March. And then we can go down and look at, now at 134.9. Okay. And see where he's better. That's because he's bannered that building. Army damage received will be the warehouse. And I think I'm 2 levels behind on bannering my warehouse. One of the theories that I'm working off of is everybody knows you get the stats from Omega. All right, guys. And then starting here at this line, Army damage. That's where I start calling that bottom half stats. All right. So everything above is the top half. Everything below is the bottom half. I do not believe you get bottom half stats in a Mega or Mega Rally. In other words, you don't level your buildings, and you don't put your banners on your buildings, and you don't do your COAs like you're supposed to for those stats. Then, well, the COAs feed the top half. So a Mega would give you whatever the Mega guys got. But the banners on the buildings feed the bottom half. And your damage is your damage number. You may wind up with your C40's 2,000 numbers up here. But if you only got 50 damage, you have a 2,000% chance to hit with 50 damage. All right? If that makes sense. I hope it does, because this is an important split, and it's not that anybody's been lying to you or anything else. It's just they don't know. And all honestly, there's no way to prove it. If you've got some magic formula for testing that I don't know about, please let me know, and then I will start duplicating the math. Everybody would appreciate it. So this gives us a starting point. Now, depending on war talents, you can see I've got more war talents he does, and I've stacked my distance. So me ranking up means that I'm now going to get 10,000 instead of 9,000 on my gems every day, and an extra war document. So there's growth to this. There's method to the madness. The war documents take the war documents and the RSS, and as we just saw from the discount from the store for the Korean and other Asian countries, coupled with the RSS farming, we just saw players come into KVK with 45 war documents on. Nobody spent that kind of money. They got to buy their war documents pennies on the dollars, and they are RSS farmers. They had it just laying around. And so 5 players come in and wiped out an entire kingdom in under 5 minutes this morning. Kudos to the lack of thought there. Don't blame the game. It'll get fixed. I mean, it's still a good quality base foundation for a strategy game, and at some point I would expect them to rebrand this once they get these problems fixed. But these problems that have just been inserted into the game is literally personal philosophy. It's got nothing to do with the realities of the world, realities of life. Making a statement that, hey, somebody's economy is not as good, so we're going to make them pay 2 cents for every dollar you pay. Well, in my opinion, if you're living in a third world country making sneakers, which is what you're implying, then why do you have an iPhone, internet, and all day to play games? I don't think you really hit your market on that one. I think you made a judgment based on, I like this country more than I like yours. And there seems to be a little bit of international real-world politics playing into this decision-making. And I'm not sure that it's the best marketing to run off your highest-paying customers with people you subsidized. I don't think you're going to get your point across, and I'm pretty sure it's going to hurt your bottom line. And I'm not certain that the upper owners in this game, the people who invested money to make money back, appreciate you throwing their money away. You're not there to bleed people for thousands of dollars, but at the same time, you're not there to run their customers off either. That's it's not what you're hired to do. So we refresh our opponents, blah, blah, blah. Now, okay, and that's what I was looking for. See, I'm close here. All right. See where they've got 2 of them in the infantry? So I know he stacked up his infantry war documents. And while I got better stats, I lost because since patch 3.2, there has been an increase in infantry's power. So we are going to go look in here. Now I'm going to make an adjustment to kill this guy. Where is he? Even though I'm on cooldown. Because the formation matters more than the cooldown does. So I'm going to drop my infantry just a touch. Oops, that's a lot of touch. I'm going to raise my cavalry. Can't get the 4. And that was worse. I think I overshot it. Okay. But this is how you learn how formations work, guys. And there we go. I'm getting a little closer. So I'm adjusting to his formations what I'm doing. So I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to take that down and that up. There we go. And what I wound up doing to go after his infantry was, as you saw, I kept trying to bring cavalry in, which cavalry kills infantry. But if you don't protect the cavalry, your cavalry can't kill your infantry. So you there is a rock paper scissors tug of war going on here. As you drop down one and increase another, it's not one of those things. Well, he's got more infantry. I'm just going to send more cavalry. As you saw, just sending more cavalry didn't fix the problem. All right, I did reduce my infantry that I sent on that march. And he was what? A C-31 to my C-30. And really a good C-31 too, because he had 223 march cap. So that tells me that guy has not only bannered up his buildings and done all that stuff because the stats were there, but he has done all his research, which is a ton of our that's where you get that big, fat, stinking march cap, plus the C-31's, I think, a 15K march cap increase. But he's got another 10K in there, which is in the research. And see this one here, the 241 on C-31, he's got it all. So this is a tough opponent. And I'm right there. So we're going to look. And he's doing more distance. So I'm going to do... Oh, completely wrong direction. Oh, what was I thinking? All right. That's closer. All right, so we're there. And I'm giving up 40,000 troops, and I'm almost to beating him here. I'm going to go 81. And the point being to this is there is no perfect march that kills everybody. All right, so he lost less on that one. I was right on the first one. Okay, so let's go 30. And I'm going to kill more of his cav if I can. Whew, that was worse. All right. And I've hit my timeout on it. All right. I should be losing to him, right? But you saw what I was doing. I was making small adjustments, not great big drastic ones. And for the purpose of teach it as a daily learning skill so that when you hit one of these guys with war talents or has a lopsided march of some kind, or you look in a tower and you see a scout report and you say, oh, well, he's got 50% infantry in there. You know, I need to take my march from the spine breaker over at Rogers Raiders, and I need to slide up a little more cavalry and drop a little more infantry down, and then kind of make my my distance and my cavalry match. And then you need to know subclasses, and we're going to get into that in a future calculator. I got a beta calculator coming out that is going to be for T10 guys only. And the reason it's going to be T10 guys only is because the calculator itself is not database driven, but it will employ subclass math, so that we'll have several versions of that. So when you see a war talent heavy member, you can go over there and click and say, okay, my T10 guy is sitting in a tower and I need to kill him out and he's 50% infantry. Click on that and we'll give you the best possible formation that we know of for breaking that guy. Okay. So it'll be a job specific, and it has to do with And I can show you. And there's a reason I'm putting all this on this Ford thing is this is a great place to learn for free every day. Uh, kind of a teach yourself type moment. So I'm going to go in here and rifleman, T10s. Okay, everything's the higher the tier, the better the tier. They have a job. All right. Riflemen have an increased attack against cavalry and artillery. What's cavalry do? Cavalry kills your infantry. So T10s stop their ability to kill your infantry. All right. So a high T10 in your march protects your infantry early on. Okay. Grenadiers have a higher defense against Musketeer. That stops the in your formation. That stops their distance from killing your infantry. So that's where we get into the 2-tier math, right? Well, on Spinebreaker we run 3 tiers, and so back on tier 8, we're back to killing more cavalry and artillery if that's what's going on in there. But don't worry about the artillery math; it's kind of ridiculous. But let's look at the cavalry because cavalry is one of the ones that's lopsided. All right, light cavalry has an increased attack against riflemen. Let's go down to tier 9. Increased attack against riflemen. So if you run our first calculator and you're a tiering guy, you're stacking your top 2 tiers. Well, your cavalry doesn't kill anything that it needs to be killing except riflemen, which anybody that's using the calculators nowadays has really gone real deep into that numbers. So the old tier 2 has some effect, but you really would have to be 3 and 4 marches deep into pounding on a guy in order to really hurt him at that point. But let's say we're just going after a tower. Okay, so we want to break their infantry. So the new one's going to look at the subclasses, and where normally we would be running 50%, 25 and 15 and then 5 on the rest. Well, we're going to look at the subclass for the tier 8s and say, okay, I'm going after an infantry heavy things. So we're going to put more tier 8 and tier 6s because it'll be the same ones. So we're going to beef up the cavalry in the tier 8s and tier 6s because we're going after an infantry guy. Some guy that stacked his war talents on infantry, other stuff like that. So the game strategies are getting a little more strategic, and where the game is lagging behind. One, there's only 3 formation settings. Well, that's not enough anymore. You added war talents, and now you have multiple combinations. You have multiple strikes. You have multiple jobs. And the interface is not quite there for the complication that has been put into this math. For the most part, stick with the Spinebreaker for now. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I hated to yawn in the mic there. KVK is 3 a.m. in the morning for us over here in the States. So what we're looking at is we give you this calculator to give you a good base starting point. You can go back, reference it, save the page, and say, okay, where was my numbers at? And realize that every time you do research, that number is going to change. So there's a little bit of a rounding in there because I take the decimal points out of respect for the phone guys. It's a little hard to see this stuff on a phone. I use big monitors. But yeah, so set your troops once. I'm not going to dink with my troops because they're actually set for me having a much. You see, my defending troops is 220 when I only have 202 on my offense. That's because I set them while I was spec'd out, and so I don't want to fart with that. Even just for you guys to see how to plug a number in. If you can't figure that out, you need to go download Pac-Man. The focus that you should get from the Musketeer Fort is it is good daily loot growth. Don't skip it. You also should be using it as an opportunity to understand when you make changes and it's not costing you any troops to try what you're doing. But do realize that, like I said, if you're tier 9 in that fort, understand that the subclasses are the same as the tier 10s, except for, see this one, increased defense for riflemen. Okay, so let's say you're tier 9. Man, you're going to want a completely different formula and slide that down a little bit. So we're optimized for tier 10s. That's where that's the goal of everybody's tier 10s. And we are kind of optimized for that. But be aware of the subclass. Okay, Musketeers have an increased defense against light cavalry. So if you're a tier 9 guy, this calculator actually works much better on defense for you than it does on offense. So make the slight adjustments, know why you're making them, and you will be a better player for it. I appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. We've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming out. Some of these things where the thinking process, I am starting to build them into the website as fast as I can. That takes time. And I appreciate, guys, since we put the calculators up just a few weeks ago, we have had 30% per week growth of people using the calculators. And what that tells me is that you liked it and you told somebody about it. I do not care about like buttons or things. Google may care how many times you hit the like on the video. I don't. The fact that you recommended it to somebody else to come back and they've been coming back, I see that on my stats reports. I appreciate it. That's the best thank you ever. Keep that up. I appreciate it. Do subscribe because you don't want to miss out as I start breaking new beta stuff. The beta spine breaker that's going to start employing against the war talents is coming, and it will be the first calculator of its kind for this game. Like I said, in patch 3.2 they changed the infantry and how it reacts in the game even without the war talents. So we're going to make some changes in a beta calculator. I do not have enough strikes or tits, and there are so many different people in the spirit mines for me to test against that the data takes extremely longer to collect. All right, like, subscribe, RogersRaiders.com. There's a new calculator up there to get you more loot every day. We appreciate it. Doesn't cost you anything. Tell your friends. Thank you.